Welcome back. ActionSA is branching out in the Eastern Cape. The party is launching in the province under the theme #Let'sFixEasternCape. It says the launch marks its political offensive ahead of the 2024 national and provincial government elections. To speak on ActionSA's growth, I'm joined by the Executive Director of the Polisee Space, David Maimela. A very good morning to you, David, and thank you so much for joining us. So let's start with, is it perhaps premature for ActionSA to be going into the province, or are they actually doing the right thing?
Can you please repeat the question for me? I was
just asking, I hope you can hear me now, David. I was just asking, could it be seen as a bit premature for ActionSA to be now branching out into other provinces, or is this a good idea? It's best to do it now.
No, I actually think that it's probably not a good idea. I'll tell you why. I don't think that the future of politics in South Africa actually lies in the small fringe political parties. I think the future is more or less coalescing and consolidating into either 2 or 3 big political parties. That's the first thing. But also, I don't think that the prospects of growth for ActionSA are there at all for a number of reasons. The first one, I think South Africans do not have appetite for right-wing populism. And when I say right-wing populism, I mean I'm making reference to the foreign policy or the international relations policy of ActionSA, which is anti-African, right? And basically that type of a policy platform will not sort of gel well with the general population of South Africa. The second reason why I don't see prospects of growth for ActionSA is because the party does not seem to attract young people. So any party that is worth its salt and wants to grow in South Africa has to have a huge appeal to the youth of South Africa. They are the future for any society. And if in your ranks or in your support base in terms of the electoral outcomes, you do not attract as many young people as possible, then you do not have a future. So those, for me, are the reasons. But also, I don't think that the fringe small political parties can survive on their own. They can survive in the form of coalitions and that type of a thing, but that in itself is also not sustainable.
So could it maybe then not be a matter of a change of policy? You know, you are, of course, criticizing the international relations policy of ActionSA, calling it un-African. Could that maybe not be an opportunity for them to change their policy and focus on the youth, focus on youth unemployment? I mean, focus on crime. We are seeing the latest crime statistics coming out for the first 3 months of the year. Perhaps if they just change, you know, their focus, change their ethos, that could bode well for them. Or are you still of the belief that small parties have no ground to play on in this country?
Yeah, no, they don't. I mean, the evidence points to that fact. I mean, the ActionSA has got another burden of legacy, that it is actually an offspring, if you like, of the Democratic Alliance. And we all know that the Democratic Alliance has reached a political ceiling in terms of political support in the country. It no longer has, I mean, it cannot possibly grow beyond what it has grown now in terms of its support base. And I mean, you can see this, I mean, the Ethel Trollip, you can see Maimela Mashaba, you can see the current national chairperson, and most other people, Mr. Moody, all of them from the DA. So if you like, it becomes some kind of a black DA, but others then also argue that actually there's a massive presence of the DA in the ActionSA. and they don't have much of a difference in terms of policy. Whether it's foreign policy, they are the same. You know, the DA practically takes the same position on Africa as ActionSA does. I mean, basically, so you have. I mean, I don't see how they can survive on their own. Yes. Yeah. I think the biggest test will come in the next election, because as we often say, the next election is actually the test on whether a new party can survive or not. We've seen this with COPE, for instance, doing well in 2009 and then declining from 2014 onwards. It's only the EFF that was launched, you know, first time in 2014 and grew, you know, just like sort of slightly after that. It's only the EFF that has done that. All the other parties that have launched have declined since then.
Just finally, before we let you go, David, so basically, in very simple terms, you're saying we will not see the ActionSA, perhaps the likes of the Patriotic Alliance, you know, and some of these other smaller parties, the COPEs of the likes, in the next elections of 2029?
Yes, I mean, they don't master the rhetoric, right? I mean, you know, look at the EFF, right? Look at the EFF. The reason why the EFF continues to be attractive and kind of cool, among other things, it's because, you know, it's clear that it's targeting the youth. You know, it's cool to the youth. The rhetoric speaks to the aspirations of the youth. Some, you know, black professionals identify with the rhetoric. The rhetoric is important. But now you've got, I don't even know if there's any kind of coherent policy statement or rhetoric that you can identify with ActionSA as I'm sitting here. If you can remind me of one, I'll be happy. I don't remember. But with the EFF, you know, you find that type of a thing, you know, and I'm saying to you that if you do not appeal to the youth base, which constitutes the vast majority, which constitutes the most alienated of groups in society, then you do not make sense. And if your leadership is also very old, you do not make sense. So times have changed. You've got to read those times. And if you do not have a proper reading of the changing times, then you become irrelevant and nobody's going to come to your corner. So ActionSA can launch in Northern Cape, in other provinces and all of that. But the point is that, are you coherent? Are you attractive to the base? That matters more. AMA 2000 and all of that, people who actually have got no memory of the past in the sense that our parents do, but they do know the history and where they come from, but you've got to speak to that.
Yeah. David, that's some very powerful insights, and thank you for those. That is, of course, political analyst David Maimela joining us here on the South African Morning. Now, we